Hi guys, and welcome to the Stephen King Sematary Club. We are discussing Chapter 2, The Way Station. Roland is going across the desert. He is starting to get dehydrated, and he is aware that pretty soon he is just gonna drop dead. And that will be the end of him. Mission not accomplished. And as he is nearing the end of what he is able to withstand, he sees two buildings in the middle of nowhere in this desert. And there is a person sitting in front of one of the buildings, and he thinks it's the man in black. So he goes and he draws his gun, he's gonna kill him. Well, he finds out it's a child. And the kid is named John, or as he likes to be called, Jake Chambers. I love the character of Jake. He very much reminds me of Mark from Salem's Lot. So to me, they're kind of the same character. And Roland is kind of like Ben Mears also to me. So I do see them in that way. So even though they're not supposed to be and there's no reason to think that they are, it's probably the dynamic and just the fact that Mark was such an intelligent young boy. Jake is also an intelligent young boy around the same age. You know, I don't know. There's just a lot of similarity between the two for me. Jake makes him comfortable, gives him some water, and, you know, eventually Roland comes to and he discusses things with Jake. He's like, how did you get here? What are you doing out in the middle of nowhere? Who brought you here? And Jake is kind of confused and cloudy on the issue. He's like, I don't know. You know, I don't really remember stuff anymore, and the more time that passes, the less I actually remember. He tells Roland that the man in black had come by and he was afraid of him and he stayed in the house. Roland takes out a bullet and he makes it walk across his hands, and he does this over and over and hypnotizes Jake. So he gets Jake to tell him this very in-depth story about his life in New York City. And it's a very interesting passage where Jake recounts his time in this other world. He was going to school, he was walking. It's very descriptive, very detailed. He talks about his parents. He seems to have rich parents who are a little detached, and he's kind of raised more by like a maid, a nanny. He's walking to school one day, and the man in black is there. And he pushes Jake into the street, and Jake gets run over and killed. And then that's how he ended up in this desert world where he met Roland. Quote, somewhere a radio is playing a song by the rock group Kiss. He sees his own hand trailing on the pavement, small, white, shapely. He has never bitten his nails. Looking at his hand, Jake dies. Page 88. So Roland asks, do you want to remember this when I bring you out of your trance, or do you not? And Jake says, no, I don't want to remember it. I think he said, when I died, basically he says, when I died, blood came out of my mouth and I could taste my own shit, and I don't want to remember that. So that's just a powerful image, and poor Jake. So already we feel sympathy for him, already we think that he and Roland are going to be a great little team. We like their relationship, or at least I like their relationship. We get some early references here. Roland mentions the tower, and there's a water pump in the stable that they're staying in, and it's made by North Central Positronics, which will have a very big impact later in the series. I don't know, this could be one of the things that Stephen King just included later on, because he kind of revised this book a little bit for cohesive purposes to make it gel a little more with the other Dark Tower books. He revisited this one and kind of tweaked some things and inserted some things. I'm wondering if he actually didn't know about North Central Positronics yet, or I don't know, I'm just surmising. Roland tells Jake that he is going after the man in black, and he says, you know, you're gonna have to come with me. And Jake agrees. He doesn't want to be left alone, and doesn't really have much food or water, so he has no other way of, you know, getting out of the situation, so he willingly goes. Before they leave, Roland wants to check out the cellar and see if there's anything salvageable down there that they can use. Jake refuses to go down there because he's kind of creeped out by the cellar. And Roland gets in there and a demon starts speaking to him. So he kind of has some advice for Roland, and he basically says that, you know, if you take this boy with you, the man in black is going to be able to use that as a chip. You know, he's going to be able to use Jake against you, he's going to make you like the boy, and then it'll be bad for you. So Roland defeats the demon, and he ends up pulling out a creepy little jawbone from the wall, and he takes it with him, and he examines it. It makes Jake uncomfortable, but he doesn't say anything. So Roland, after he defeats the demon, he runs up the stairs, and he and Jake are ready to leave. Jake was scared, and he runs over, he hugs Roland. Roland comforts him. Quote, "It occurred to him later that this was when he began to love the boy, which was, of course, what the man in black must have planned all along. Was there ever a trap to match the trap of love?" Page 96. As Roland and Jake are traveling along, and they're sitting by the fire, Roland kind of has some flashbacks. He has mentioned Martin, who is a dark wizard from his world, and it kind of makes me think of like the Bizarro World version of Merlin. Roland has a flashback, and this allows us to get, you know, even more backstory on Roland, and it allows us to see his sentimental side, which he kind of hides in his face that he presents to other people. He doesn't really, he's not very imaginative, he isn't very emotional or sentimental, so it's nice that we get these little bits of Roland where we do find that he has this undercurrent of sentimentality and affection and kindness, and it's good, because otherwise he's a little more like a Terminator. We meet David, who was Roland's hawk. We meet Court and Cuthbert. Court was the kind of instructor. He is like a drill sergeant. He is training Cuthbert and Roland to be gunslingers. So what Roland is actually remembering was this time that he and Cuthbert were hanging out with Court, getting some instruction. Cuthbert kind of messed up, and Court was like, you know what, you need to fast, you need to not eat as punishment, and the two boys ended up sneaking into this kitchen and getting food anyway, and Hax, the cook, gave them food when he wasn't supposed to, and they went to go eat their food, and they were hiding in the kitchen under the stairs when some other guy came in and started talking to Hax, and they were hatching a conspiracy plot. And so Roland and Cuthbert turned Hax in because he was going to serve poisoned meat to children and wipe out a whole town in the name of the good man. Roland tells his father, Stephen Deshane, and Hax is hanged. So Cuthbert and Roland go to the hanging. Roland takes a splinter from the gallows, he kind of pries off a little piece of wood, and he keeps it as like a memento of the occasion. Hax is hanged. Roland played a part in it. Quote, "The land did not fall to the good man for another 5 years, and by that time Roland was a gunslinger, his father was dead, he himself had become a matricide, and the world had moved on." Page 118. So I do like the little bits of backstory that we get. I think that the story of Roland's childhood is very interesting. I really like one of the later books to come where it spends a huge chunk of time talking about Roland and his past. And like I said, I really love the dynamic between Roland and Jake. Yeah, I feel like this chapter is where the book starts to really get good. Have a spooky day.